Did you bring any wine? Every time I visit, I bring papers.
Just in case. No, there's a little thing along the river. Yeah, and there's really many people on the over.
This is immigration.
There's a museum too. Yes, epic.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock. We'll get started. Please settle down.
No, we're busy.
Welcome to the TEAS working group session, IETF 121. I'll give my co-chair a minute to settle down.
So first of all, thanks to the Black Hand that puts the TEAS session every Friday afternoon. So hope you enjoy it. So first, also, please, we are encouraged to repeat every session the note well. So please take your time always to read it and the reminder of the IETF policies, and that, as you know, if you participate here, you need to follow all the IETF processes. So I guess here, by the end of the week, you will have read it many times, but in any case, we have to do it every time. The guidelines, so here, we are, especially here in this working group, have a lot of heated discussions, but here we encourage that the participants have discussions with respect and courtesy, and the discussions keep them at the technical level. Okay, so here, contribute, but give your technical views and say, try to keep that out of the personal level. So here also sign in the Miteco. Okay, so here you can join the queue, etc. And also, if online, just please keep everything off, so to avoid any mixing of the noise in case. And also, if you are present in remote, to hear us and to speak, it's better to use the headset. So just the administrative stuff. So here where you can get the materials, the data tracker to go through the documents. So just please just take a look and help us in the note taking. So this will facilitate our work after the IETF. So if you can also volunteer to take minutes, we would gladly appreciate it. This does not pass. Do you have to? Okay. You need to click, I think, somewhere. No, you need to click there in the screen and then, no. So the agenda, the order we have followed is that after doing an update on the working group documents, Pavan is going to take you briefly through the documents. We will have presentation of most of the working group documents that are now in the process of being finalized. So we are going through most of them, and then we will covering different topologies, ECDN for packet optical, slicing, and in the end we will have some documents that are still not working documents and individual ones, like new ones, like there's the new piece of work of the RSVP cryptographic authentication, and also at the very end, the hackathon update. Also looking here at the agenda, I think it's very nice to have some hackathon work. So we encourage the working group also to, whenever there are solutions, also that, especially new solutions or that require different options, etc., to bring them to the hackathon. Okay, so here we really welcome and appreciate the work for the hackathon. Oops, I went. So here, even though we are going to go in more detail later in Pavan, just a reminder, we have a set of documents that are in the ISG for publication. So I think they are most of them in the editor queue. and one of them under AD evaluation. So I think pretty soon we will have a big bunch of RFCs out there. So regarding the documents that have passed the working group last call, as you know, the update of the T types, we went through the second working group last call that is already finished. There were comments received. Now I see that there was a new revision published. So now what we are just, the next steps on this one, we are going to trigger the reviews, the young doctor reviews and the early directorate reviews. And in parallel, we will start with the document Shepherd Act. So here, then the other two ones, the TEAS and the path computation, that they are waiting on the previous document to be updated. So they are in the queue. The L3T topology, there is one open issue, so it's just waiting for the authors. I don't know if there is any new version published yet or not. Okay, so if someone wants to say anything about this one, please go to the mic. Otherwise, that is open. And the 5G NSN IMP MPLS, this one just is waiting for the write-up on authors. So we have just a document that was recently adopted, the topology filter, and there are a couple of documents that we have already started the adoption process. So we started just the IPR poll from then the network slice instantiation and the transport network slice young model. So here we have some several liaisons that we for the first one, we received the feedback from 3PVP that we asked. If you remember, we had some document with a set of annexes that we didn't know whether they keep them, remove them, etc. So after having the document being reviewed, it was detected that there were some inaccuracies in the appendix, and the suggestion from the liaison was that to avoid this is to directly reference the document. So here we followed the recommendation and remove the appendix B3. Then this one also had several answers because it was replied by different or different parts of the organization in 3PP. Also, we had to fix a reference, and also for the third answer, as I told you, it was by 3 different working groups within 3PPP. The feedback on the interpretation that we did on the feedback was also to remove B1 and B2 appendixes, okay, because also there were some inaccuracies, and also there were no formal endorsement from 3BP of the hand-option discussed in section 4, and also of the QS mapping realization model in section 5. Okay. So here that was based on the latest version of the 5G NSM IPMPLS documents already covers all this feedback. So the last one is just a liaison that has been sent to CCAMP and to IB NetMod TEAS for information. I think this one we are not supposed to, or we don't need to formally reply, right, for that last one. So just more information. So here, or at least this 3GP has, well, at least in our view, served us a lot for the purpose that it was that wanted to review the document. And well, it seems that when trying to put in IETF documents words from other organizations, sometimes it's not the best thing, okay? Because here we are subject to misinterpretations. So here, this is an example of, okay, and if we need anything from them, it's better to have a liaison and have it reviewed. So just a final reminder of the IPR process. So here, even if it's not compulsory, here, whenever we have a working group adoption, we run an IPR poll, okay? So here, everybody is or should reply to the draft, to the IPR poll. Here also we have the GitHub. If you have a working group document or if you have your document has been recently adopted, we also encourage to move it to TEAS, IETF, so can stay longer. Okay, so but in any case, the process, the usual process, using the list and so on, is not affected by the use of GitHub. And so here also all the authors, please, before the IETF meeting, even if you haven't, let's say, updated the document, just please send the status. If you have still open issues, if you have plans, etc., just please share it. Even come to the mic and say it, or do a presentation, or send an email to the list. Okay, so I think now we can move to the status of the working group documents.
Yeah, next on the agenda is the working group document status. We have 6 documents like Oscar just presented that are in what we call publication requested state. 5 of those are in the RSA queue. One of them is under AD evaluation. That's the network slice service model document. We have 7 working group documents on the agenda today. So going forward, we'll be encouraging status updates to be given in person in the room as much as possible. We also have 5 documents in what we call post working group last call stage. There are a couple in those 5 that need immediate attention. So the status of those 2 documents and the remaining 12 are covered in this slide deck. We have 6 documents that are currently in expired state. Of those 6, there are at least 4 which are almost close to last call. So they ask for the authors of these documents to revive them as soon as possible and get them ready for last call before the Bangkok IETF. Those would be the 3 Yang documents at the bottom right, and the ACTN Yang document, which is basically an informational document that talks about applicability of Yang models to ACTN. It has been waiting for the progression of other documents for a long time now, but now that we have reached a stage where it can be progressed, I think it can be revived and progressed as well. I would not be walking through the status of every document that's covered in this deck, but I will select a few and that we believe need some immediate attention, and then dwell on them a little bit. So that said, let me jump to the document on slide 3. This is the ACTN performance monitoring analytics document. It's been stable for a while now. There was a new revision published last month, some editorial changes. The authors believe that it's ready for working group last call, so please do review it in anticipation of a last call before the next IETF. So the idea is to progress the 4 documents that are currently, 4 Yang documents that are currently in the post-working group last call stage, and then we will progress the next set of Yang documents. Let me now jump to the one on slide 9. This is the T topology profiles document. There haven't been any significant changes to the document itself, but the reason why we wanted to bring this to your attention is that there is some ongoing discussion in NMOP about the use of topology profiles. And we also have a hackathon update later on in the agenda where Henry would present what was showcased in the hackathon using a certain topology profile. So please keep an eye out on the discussion that's happening there, and chime in as you deem fit. There was also a site meeting regarding profiles in general. Hitler, do you want to give an update, quick update on that?
Yes, we had a side meeting just to start sharing ideas about the problem statement for defining Yang profiles and Yang views. There was useful discussion. I think there was some interest, but more on the views than on the profile, to be very honest. But we need to talk offline, I think. I've been asked to, I have created an issue in Yang Next, so to be consideration, and maybe we need to trigger some more discussion in that mod mailing list to see, because the big concern is that there is no automatic tool to generate profiles. And so for some tool chain, software tool chain, having manual, some people complain that having a manual way to create a profile is not practical. I know example where people has implemented profiles created manually, no, they didn't complain, but other people are complaining. So having some automatism may be helpful.
Okay, thanks, Hitler. The next document that we would like to talk about is the L3T topology Yang document. Revision 16 of this document was taken through working group last call. The authors have published a couple of revisions since then, addressing all the comments that were received during working group last call, and most of the ones that were received as part of the routing directorate review and also the Yang doctor review. There is still one comment from the routing directorate review that hasn't been responded to yet. So there's a section in the document that talks about packet switch cable specific augmentations, and I think the comment was to have that discussed elsewhere. So this is something that was brought up earlier as well. And I think at that point, the author's response was that having an additional document for a small augmentation is it would just add overhead. So this is something that can be addressed by some additional, some sufficient text in the introduction. So before we ask the authors to go ahead and resolve it, propose something on the list and resolve it, does anybody have anything to chime in on this? Okay, I don't see anybody queuing up. So let me ask, I see Shufeng, okay.
My opinion is that still as before, so I don't see big value to move this out of the current document. But yeah, that's up to the working group to decide which way to do. We can do either way. So that's my take.
Yeah, I think the problem is that until you get to section 3, there is no mention of this. So if you can add some text in the introduction saying that this document also discusses it, I think that would address the comment. Make a proposal, text proposal on the list, and then we can move forward.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thanks, Chef.
And Ethan?
Yes, I suggest also maybe we can review also the title, because honestly speaking, I also was confused by the name of the draft. It looks like only layer 3, and then there is also packet E, which is not always layer 3. So I think once this is coming in RSC, this is not longer an issue, but maybe the name of the title and introduction will definitely help people understand that they need to read this draft, even if they are not interested in layer 3, but on generic packet.
Fair enough. I'll let Shufeng make some text proposals, and then we'll take it from there.
And text and name.
This is the RFC 876 update document. We took revision 13 of this document through a second working last call. New revision was published earlier this week. It addresses all the comments that were received during the second working last call. That said, we did receive a fresh set of comments this morning from Med, so we need to look into those and get those addressed as well. We will also be triggering the early routing directorate review and a Yang doctor review as well. And while those are getting reviewed, if the working group can review the latest set of changes and make sure that everything that's been commented or so far is addressed, if that would be useful. There are at least three to four other documents that are depending on this, so we would be looking to progress this at the earliest. Those were the documents that we wanted to draw your attention to in this slide deck. Are there any questions on any of these or any other working group document? Okay, thank you. So we'll go to the first presenter. That would be Shufeng.
All right. I'm Xufeng Liu on behalf of the authors and the contributors. So I would like to give a quick update on the Yang data model for SR and SRT topologies on MPR's data plane. Next slide, please. So yeah, here's a recap about this document. This document had been there for a while, and the current state is like this. So the document defined the Yang data model for segment routing, topology and segment routing together with the TE on one topology. So the data plane focus here is the MPS data plane. So the structure of the model is what we're showing here on the left side. So the SR MPS topology is the augmentation to the layer 3 unicast topology. So on the right side of the tree, they are presented in different documents, but they are related. Together, we can build a topology either without TE topology model or together with the TE topology model. So they could be for different use cases. And so on the right side, that's the data example, so which contains all the related topology model data. So which contains base network topology contents, the attributes, contains the layer 3 unicast topology attributes, and SR MPS topology attributes, and also combined with the TE topology information and the packet related extension to TE topology. So, so together we build up the topology with the both SR and TE. Next slide, please. So yeah, we haven't had a lot of updates recently, but we have, in the history, we have got many reviews and discussions. So the Young Doctor review has been completed. And so we think currently the document is very stable. So we don't have open issues. However, one dependency in the model, right? So the layer 3 topology model that's related, we still need to decide it, if we want to split the packet module, which is also shown in the previous slide, to be separated out or not. So that's a separate question. But for this document, we don't have any open issues. But we still welcome further reviews, and we also, yeah, after that, we want to go for the working group last call. Next slide, please. So that's it for this document, short update. Any questions?
Yeah, I don't see anybody queuing up. So Shufeng, it's been, we did the Young Doctor review for version 4. I think the document has evolved a fair bit since then. While I think we'll wait for you to publish the next revision that's needed anyway. So once that's done, we'll get it lined up for last call and also additional reviews, hopefully before the Bangkok IETF.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
The next presentation is also from Shufeng.
Yeah, here I'm again. So on behalf of the authors and contributors, we are presenting the SF-aware TE topology Young model. So that's a service function aware. So next slide, please. So this document describes a Young data model so that we can use this model to build a topology that's network service and network function aware. And this model is based on the TE topology model. So the diagram here showing the way, how do we model this topic. The idea is that we need to build some relationships between the T topology and the service functions. On the right side, the bottom of the diagram, so we augmented the T node. We build a list of service functions. So then we can bring those service functions into our topology. We have three kind of relationships. So on the left diagram, the top, that's on the inside of the TE node, we bring in connectivity matrices, which models the relationship between service functions in that node. And the next argument is about the link termination. So that's the link terminator, the relationship between link terminator to the service function. And on the right side, we have the augmentation to the termination points so that we can have, that's tunnel termination points, so that we can have the relationship between tunnel termination point to the service function. So with all the three kinds of relationship, we can have a different all kinds of combinations, so that we can build various types of topologies with a different kind of service function setups. So next slide, please. So for those kind of setups, we can do all kinds of different kind of application. So in the document, we listed 12 example use cases, and like C1 is the case the network controller can control both the topology information and the service function information. And the other use cases covers constraints, load balance, protection, and also there are some use cases related to optical networks, and some others covers the cloud applications. These are the examples we have in the document. Next slide, please. So yeah, the current version is revision 13, and we don't have open issues. So yeah, we like to have more reviews and going forward to the working group last call. So that's it. Thank you.
Any questions for Shufeng? I do have one comment rather. So I believe in the earlier versions, you had a PDF version and all the images, all the figures for those use cases were in the PDF version, and in the text document, there were some references saying, go check the PDF version. I guess those need to be fixed. Maybe you need help from others to put together SVG figures or ASCII art figures. So if there's anybody in the working group willing to help Shufeng, please do reach out to him. I'll talk to you offline, Shufeng, how to get
Yeah,
that.
that'd be great if you can get some help. So I think that this is because of the tooling changes in IETF. So I don't know if I have a good way to present those diagrams anymore. Although IETF document editor can do anything for that or not, but I'm not sure. But for now, we don't have a good solution for that.
Yeah, we will sort this out on the mailing list.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, again, this is after you publish the next revision, we will look at how we can line this up for last call. This is assuming that you'll fix the diagrams. in the next?
Okay, I don't have yeah, we will talk about that furthermore, but for now, we don't have any good way to fix that diagram in the draft. Probably, I don't know if IETF editors still publish PDF versions with different ways, but the submission tools does not allow us to submit any PDF files anymore.
Drew, you have a comment?
Hi, Dhruv here. I recently, for one of my documents, moved to SVG, and it was not that painful. I thought it would be pretty painful exercise to convert your ASCII documents into an SVG. There is a Martin's tool. Martin Thompson has worked on a tool which lets you input the text file, which is your ASCII, and that converts into an SVG file. So I can work with you, Shufeng. Let's start an email, and you can refer the first document, the PM one, where recently I have done this change. So of
They are all the pictures, diagrams from the PowerPoint, and then we put into the Word document. I can send you the Word document.
yeah, that will not work. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, but I don't know, even with that, it will be easy to convert that into SVG.
So
Okay.
yeah, we have to figure out some solution for that.
Yeah.
We'll work on that offline. Thanks, Shufeng. Thanks. Drew. Italo?
Okay. Oops. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Italo Busi. I'm presenting the status of the ACT-MPOI applicability statement on behalf of co-authors and editors and contributors. Okay, a brief recap. The use cases that we are addressing in this draft is a multi-domain, multi-layer network with IP packet domains and optical domains, where the optical network is providing underlay transport to connectivity between IP routers. And the focus of this use case of this draft is mainly inventory and topology discovery for the multi-layer, multi-domain network, as well as the establishment of layer 2 and layer 3 VPN across this type of network, which may trigger also the setup of an WDM tunnel if needed to support the new connectivity in the IP layer. Where we are, okay, we didn't have major updates after the last IETF, but we had some updates after the last time we presented. They were mainly editorial or clarification aspects. So, okay, this is just, I think we don't need to go one by one, but basically we made the document is almost ready for working group last call. We have just a couple of open issues. The first open issue is a technical issue that was raised in the discussion, is about how do we, what is the relationship between the T topology and the sub topology. And the second open issue is more editorial. There is some description about the Ethernet links, which are set up between routers inside the domain, so intra-domain, but over an optical tunnel. So it's more editorial. There is some work ongoing about to clean up the definition and maybe check that there is an issue about to model these links, you need two LTPs, and the question is, why do you need two LTPs? It seems not clear the text. And the issues are tracked on our GitHub. So what is the issue of SAP and T topology? Okay, the issue is that when you look at the topology that a packet PNC can expose to the MDSC, the packet PNC can easily discover all the links between the routers. So the intra-domain links between the routers are discovered by packet PNC, and they are reported as links within the domain. The problem is how you discover the adjacency between the packet nodes at the edge of the network and the other nodes. And here, the T topology solution is to use the plug ID. The plug ID can be either automatically written, administrative written, or automatically discovered through some automatic discovery mechanism. And on the LTP at the edge of the network, what we report a label, which is a plug ID. This label can be used by the MDSC to discover everything. So the idea, in some cases, we said the packet PNC is not aware about whether an external interface is connected with a RODAM, or is connected with another router in another domain, or is connected with a customer edge. So you send this LTP, and then it's the MDSC can understand. For example, this LTP and this LTP have the same plug ID, and then MDSC can discover that there is an interdomain link between the two domains. The question is, okay, on this one you can understand that this is an access link because it's not connected to any other nodes in your network, and this one, the INJ, you can discover that they are connected with a RODAM because you will find the same plug ID on the LTP on the RODAM network, which is not shown in this network. So by using this mechanism, we have a very powerful mechanism to discover whether the link is an interdomain link at the IP layer, is a link between the RODAM and the router, or it is an access link toward SE. This subtopology is instead reporting similar information, and there was a question about how the two works together. And we have the open issue here is we have two options here. We can describe that this gap. There is a gap of understanding how these two models can be used together, or we can try to describe how they can coexist, and where and how. There are opinions about whether they are on the same interface or on different interfaces. So this is a question, and that will be, we may need maybe input if you want to resolve this draft, in this draft. Otherwise, we can just list this as a gap. That's the easy way to move forward. Then the second point is about the okay, this one is a little bit trying to clarify what is the issue. When I have an interface on the router, this interface on the router is an Ethernet interface, but we recommend in the draft to model it, to report it as two LTPs with the underlay association. And the reason is because this interface has a de facto two adjacency. You have, this interface is adjacent with a RODAM. This is the first adjacency level, and then after you set up the optical tunnel, you will have another adjacency between the two routers. And I'm struggling a little bit on the terminology. Yeah, there is a link between the RODAM, but then there is a logical link at the layer 2 between P and router where all the packets flows. So in order to report these two levels of adjacency, we recommend to put two LTPs. The question is really finding the right terminology to make it clear why this is needed. Because, for example, here we show that this adjacency, the adjacency between the router and the RODAM, has to be, we need to be able to discover it before any tunnel is set up, because this is the key information that you need to have to know which tunnel has to be set up a new link in the IP network. And this adjacency is, for example, discovered through mechanisms like, can be discovered, for example, through mechanisms like LLDP snooping. So here I show in order to have LLDP snooping, I'm sending what I'm transmitting, and this is what I'm receiving. So I can discover the adjacency, and then after I set up the tunnel, there will be an LLDP session between the two routers that discover this adjacency. Since the LLDP is closed loop in the PNC, this is not shown in the interlayer lock in the layer plug ID because this link is automatically discovered by the router. So you can report these two adjacency at the same time. And so you need two LTPs. The key issue here is really writing the text in such a way that is clear to a reader who has not been involved in all this detailed discussion during answer. So what do we plan? We plan to update the document to address these two pending open issues. Daniel has volunteered to do some cleanup for the English. Thank you very much. But we would like to give him a text that is stable. And then we think we should be able to go for working group last call before IETF 122.
Oscar?
Yeah, so speaking as also one of the authors of the SIP topology, so I think the best way would be to clarify what is the role of each of the models, okay? Because I think the purpose is different, and for example, for expressing the relationship between layers and for this connection, I think is the T topology the one to be used, while the SIP topology, the main aim was just to advertise potential services that you could be created to.
Can you provide some text?
Yes.
That would
So
be great.
then with that, I think we clarify that for this purpose, okay, stick to the model.
And I think
don't
we have
use
to
the other
clarify
model.
that, and you have to
Exactly.
clarify whether they are supposed to coexist or not to
Exactly.
coexist on the
I
interface.
think, in my view, models can consist, and the purpose simply is that the purpose is different. So here, the purpose that you're seeing the use case for the use case of bridging topologies and to be able to discover from the MDSC, I think is the T topology the right one to use.
Okay, so that if you can provide some text, we
Perfect.
very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you can start discussion threads for both the items on the list, I can.
Send an email on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, great. Well, on the other one is in editorial, so I have already some text from Terra. I need just to need. So maybe I can start the discussion for this, and maybe once we have the cleanup, I can send the text and say this is clean. Please check that is clean. Okay, thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thanks. Luis?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Luis from Telefónica. I will present the update on the draft of application of 5G slices on behalf of my co-authors as well. So basically, the history of the document, after IETF 114, the working group adopted the document. So the working group decided to merge three previously existing 5G network slice application documents. So after 116, the document was finally adopted, and we have presented regular updates of 117, 118, and 120. This is a complementary work to the other draft, the one about realization of network slices. And here in the diagram, you can see more or less the history of the draft and basically this process of merging different documents on it. So the chair was asking us what is missing for progress in the document. So we need to first recheck if anything is pending for this draft with the answer from 3GPP to the liaison that was sent. In our understanding, is not the case. Nothing is due for this document. So we think that there is no anything pending in that front. A second point that we want to add in the document is some more clarifying text about the relationship of what we are describing here in respect to the release 17 and release 18 in 3GPP. So to make clear what is the different objects that we are considering from the 3GPP side, and this has a dependency on the releases. So we will make this statement clear. In fact, we are now presenting three examples. Two of them would correspond to the parameters that are described for release 17. The other one would be more related to release 18. It's pending yet as well to have the directory reviews. And with all of that, our idea is to create a version 4 and yeah, keep progressing the work. We sent a request a long time ago to the mailing list asking for reviews, from reviews of the document. We received some of them already addressed the comments in the draft. But it would be nice if we have some additional reviews, especially for the examples. So we are trying to exercise the usage of the objects from 3GPP into the MBI jam model of IETF. So it would be nice to have some reviews on that. With all of this, so our point is that apart from the minor updates that basically this reference to the releases, we think that the document is ready. And yeah, the idea would be to consider this for working group last call.
Any questions for Itlu? So, any questions for Luis? Sorry. It's a Friday. So, I mean, not receiving feedback on the document doesn't necessarily mean it's ready for to progress to the last call, but it could just mean that the majority of the working group hasn't had a chance to review it yet. We will wait for the next revision. I think it would be useful to also send a liaison out, just like we did for the 5G NSIP MPLS document. We will look to send a liaison to 3GPP, asking them to give this a review as well. Wonderful. And then take it from there.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So I think that was all for this. So this other draft is describing or proposing a potential description of the functional behavior, functional components of the network slice controller. So again, I will present on behalf of my co-authors. So just a refresh, a recap on what we were proposing here. So basically, we were taking the notion of the network slice controller and identifying some functional behaviors. The mapping of the slice as is coming from the MBI from the MBI of the network slice controller, and then the realization of that slice in the different technologies that we could have underneath. It's important to highlight that the purpose of the document is not to standardize or even constrain the implementation of the network slice controller. It's just to identify behaviors and how the different YAM models that we are defining here in the working group apply to the different, let's say, boundaries, so that we can have a relationship between the models as well and help us to have, let's say, a kind of workflow across the different models. So going in to the point of the history of the document, the motivation of this document was coming from the authors of the alternative slice YAM models at the very early times of the network slice topic here in TEAS. So we all agree on creating a document for better understanding the interplay between the different models and the functional behavior of the network slice controller. That was the motivation. So the document was presented before adoption and after adoption in a number of meetings. And the status right now is that all the comments that were received during the adoption process was already covered. So from that perspective, what we can thinking on what could be missing here, a question for the working group would be if any additional issues is pending yet. We think that everything has been covered, but yeah, just to recheck. And also to consider it maybe could be beneficial to add maybe some example in this interplay between the different models, if the working group thinks that this could be useful or not. So that could be something maybe that we could consider. Also, as a pending topic, because somehow we are in this draft, we are leveraging on the progress of the drafts to be sure that the proposed structure is aligned with the progress of the different aspects on the slicing topics here. So the NRP, the customer topology intent recently in the process to be adopted, and so on so far. So should we consider any dependency with these other documents? If the answer is yes, then we need to wait till the other documents are stable so that we can also progress this. For sure, the directory reviews and so if needed. And yeah, with the received feedback today and in the mailing list, we will create new versions and present here to the working group and to the point of being ready for working group last call.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for Louis?
So regarding the dependencies, I guess most of the dependencies are working group documents still not
Yes.
finished.
Yes.
So I mean,
Yeah, we don't, at least for this document, we don't need to rush this through. So I think we can afford to wait till the other documents mature and see if we can add more text to this if needed. But yeah, it's shaping up well, and good to see that the authors believe that they are almost done. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
We are breezing through actually, well ahead of time. Next presentation would be Tarek.
Hello, everyone. I don't see the deck yet.
not yet.
How about now?
Yes, I see it. Okay, I'm giving an update on this document titled Realizing IETF Network Slices in IP MPLS Networks Using Network Resource Partitions. I'm highlighting words in this title because we plan to make this change. The words in red are to be added. This came as feedback from the working group to contextualize the title more accurate. I'm presenting this on behalf of the other authors and contributors. Next slide, please. So a bit of refresher on this document. The draft discusses the realization of IETF network slices in IP/MPLS networks using network resource partitions. The draft talks about different modes: the data plane NRP mode, a control plane NRP mode, and a mode of mix of data plane and control plane. It also presents the NRP policy definition that contains the NRP selector, the NRP resource reservation data, as well as the per hop behavior and the NRP topology. The current revision of the draft is 4. We have not made changes since last May. There are open issues in the draft, and we're capturing those in section 9 of the document. Next slide, please. So there was a discussion that occurred recently on the NRP selector within the working group. There was a virtual interim meeting that was held, I believe, back in May. And this topic was, we talked about it, and there was also follow-up on the mailing list, leaving a link there. Couple of common or topics that were raised, and we plan to address them, is the NRP selector when a dedicated identifier is used in the packet to identify the NRP itself. There are other cases where the NRP selector is using different fields, but in the case we are introducing a specific dedicated field for this, we plan to call this field NRP data plane identifier. There were different proposals, and there were questions about how many of those IDs are needed, and which translates to how many NRPs are in one domain, and translates into how many bits this identifier is. We still haven't closed on this, but we believe that this could be consistent or different across data planes. This is something still open. We're going to listen to more feedback from the working group on this. The last bullet is when a packet is not able to, when a node receives a packet that it cannot classify to a specific NRP. There was a question on what is the behavior in that case. Should it be treated or given the behavior of the default NRP on the node, or should it be dropped? And how do we define this? There are two ways to do this. One is to define the behavior on the node, and the other was to carry an explicit indicator in the packet that tells the node what to do with the packet in such a case. This is something that was discussed, and we plan to also close on this in our next update.
Tarek, do you want to take questions now?
Sure, from Greg, anytime.
Thank you, Tarek. Greg Mirsky, Ericsson. Okay, I have a question on this discussion about NRP selector and data plane identifier, particularly there, as you indicated, the possibility that there will be separate lengths or different lengths of dedicated field for different data planes. Because, okay, I understand, yes, if it's a combination of some characteristic information of existing encapsulation, that probably will be composite differently for different data planes. And for example, I'll use 2 examples, IPv6 and MPLS. But if there is a mechanism to have a dedicated informational element being included in a data plane, so I wonder what would be the rationale to have this of different lengths for different data planes, because that might be an advantage to have the single length. Similarly, with their flow label. So the flow label is 20 bits in IPv6 and flow label is 20 bits in MPLS, as an example. So, and in particular, I will point to the work being done in the 6-man that already, I believe that yesterday authors asked for the working group last call. So might be it's a little bit premature to conclude work in the 6-man before their discussion in a TEAS working group converges.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Yeah, let me go back from the end there. I do agree that we haven't closed on that, so it's probably, I was rushed to last call on that topic. On the different length for different data planes, there are different opinions here, and you could argue on each. I'm not gonna throw on the mic here my opinion, but we appreciate your feedback and others' feedback on this, so we can draw a rough consensus on how do we move forward.
What I would invite is that reach out to 6-man and MPLS working group in a particular discussion of a dedicated NRP data plane identifier. Because I think that these groups will be intimately involved and really realizing such a construct.
So we will eventually talk to MPLS and 6-man, but there is an open discussion thread right now. There were a few responses that came in. I can see your response, so please chime in, and we will converge on what the feedback is, and then take it to the other working groups.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Zafar?
If you want me to go me, or I can
go ahead.
Okay, Zafar Ali from Cisco Systems. So first of all, I agree with Greg that the length consistency, but my comment is more on a strict match identifier. In the data plane, this is similar to EXP, DSCP treatment, the treatment for the packet and all. It's not so much NRP, because when you are doing NRP, you want to go one step further if you want to do O&M and other things. So it's a more generic issue than the NRP. And I assume that what we should do is to elevate we elevate this thing to a more generic sense. This topic also has implication on the encoding that goes in the data plane. So that's another topic that connects back with 6-man and other encoding techniques. So my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, thanks. Next slide, please. Okay. In terms of next steps, we are planning to publish a revision 5. I mentioned the change in the title. We do plan to limit the number of authors on the first page to be consistent with IETF recommendation. And then we talked about the NRP, the feedback we got from the virtual interim and the discussions on the mailing list. Please, again, a reminder, pitch in, and I will pitch in as well, so that we can close on the way to progress on the different questions asked. There are other issues that we're capturing in section 9. We're planning to address them, and then we'll let the working group know that it's ready for last call. This is the update.
Any further questions for Tarek? So Tarek, for the issues captured in section 9, if you think there are items in there that need further working group feedback, see if you need to open any discussion threads for each of those. Or if you have a bunch of items that need feedback, and if you think a virtual interim might help there, to reach out to the chairs, and we'll see how we can accommodate that.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me on this. Yes, definitely. I'll kickstart an email or depending on the topic, we might request a follow-up.
Thanks. Is G Dong in the room? Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jidong from Huawei. I'm going to give a brief update about the draft on the scalability considerations for NRP. Okay, next slide. Here are some recap about the network slice concept and the NRP. I think people in this room should be very familiar with this. So the concept and the general framework of the IETF network slice was described in the RFC 9543. And the IETF network slice service can be realized by mapping the network slice connectivity constructs to one or set of NRPs in the underlying network. And an NRP consists of a set of network resources and is associated with a filter topology. It can be used to support one or group of the network slice services. This document is focused on the scalability of the NRP, as it is important for the widely deployment of IETF network slices. Basically, this document provides some design principles for and considerations about the NRP scalability, both in the control plane and also in the data plane. And some scalability optimization mechanism has also been investigated and is recommended by this document. Okay, next slide. Okay, here the discussion recently happened on the TEAS mailing list. I think Tariq just mentioned this also. I will be quick and also mention some of these other things which have not been highlighted by Tariq. The first thing is about what we call this dedicated ID field. I think there are several options raised. So far, the feedback shows that the data plane NRP ID or NRP data plane ID, maybe we should also converge on one of these is preferred. And as for the length of this dedicated ID field, the question is it okay to make it different for different data plane types? On the mailing list, the feedback so far shows that it is okay to have different ID lengths for different data planes, as they may have different applicability and also their encoding can be different. As for the indicator for straight match, according to the discussion offline and also on the mailing list, the feedback shows that this indicator is helpful or useful for the flexibility in providing the policy behavior for the NRP matching. As for the encoding, I think as shown in the mailing list discussion, this is something should be discussed in the relevant working groups and not in scope for the TEAS working group. I agree with Tariq that this is still open discussion, and Greg and Zafar just give their opinion on these questions. So more feedbacks will be welcome on the list, and we will conclude, and we will work with the working group to conclude these questions and also show some of the feedbacks and the result in this draft. Okay, next slide. Here are the updates in the recent version. Basically, we update the terminology to reflect the feedbacks on the NRP selector discussion. We have replaced the NRP ID with a data plane NRP ID for the data plane dedicated identifier context. And we also clarify that the encoding of the data plane NRP ID is specific to the data plane protocols. There are also some editorial changes made in this document, and we will continue to make these changes to improve the readability. Okay, next slide. For the next steps, the first thing is that we would like to work with the working group to reach the consensus on the general design of the dedicated ID for the NRP. And also, we will continue to review and refine the scalability design principles in this document, and to see if there are anything unclear or missing. So review and comments are welcome. After that, we will like to move the document to working group last call. Okay. Comments?
Tarek?
Yeah, hi, Tarek. With Cisco Systems, I raised a comment about the need for extending routing protocols to carry per NRP information. there was a change made in the document. So there was an agreement first that we don't want that, or the working group does not want to tackle that, and then there was a hint that it might happen. Can you clarify that and let us know what is your perspective?
For the control plane part, I think, yeah, we agree that by default, we don't need to touch the existing control plane protocols. But in some scenarios, there might be needs to advertise some NRP-specific information, maybe not to the other nodes, but to the controllers. So the protocols and the management mechanisms can also be an option. So here we also list some of these design principles, which is to don't impact the existing protocol stability or scalability, and to make this kind of information isolated from the base routing information. So that is, we think by default, this is not required change to the routing protocols. Just we make it relatively flexible for the future, like for the possibility when we prefer control plane over the management plane in some scenarios.
Okay, so Tarak, if there's any specific text in the document that you're referring to, maybe start a thread and then she can respond on the rest.
Yeah, we can discuss about the detailed text, but I think the design principles needs another round of review and polish. Yeah, so you can help. Thank you.
Zafar?
Zafar Ali from Cisco. Yeah, I think the text that Tariq is referring, and or at least what I thought and I noticed, that there was a text in earlier version about something that's saying that routing protocol do not have to involve in any of these points, and but they need to. It's important to isolate the information. There was some specific text that was agreed in the working group, and it was removed from the document.
It's not removed. It's still there. We just add some editorial changes to this. So
let's
that's
discuss
by
that.
default. We don't need to get.
There may be a few things lost in translation here, so send that particular text to the.
Yeah, we can discuss that offline. I think the text is still there, just some editorial changes.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
The original stance is still there.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't. If there is some text that is suggesting something to the contrary, we should have.
Yes, that's I think is the comment, is that text got diluted. And we can discuss more. Okay. Thank you.
Because otherwise the understanding will be completely the opposite to the initial. So especially here, that if we are talking that we are needing to, if we require especially protocol extensions, and all the implications are they're big implications.
Okay.
So keep the coordination going with the other document, the NSIPM plus document. We would look to progress both of them together.
Yes.
And once these are mature enough, the NRP Young model will closely follow after that. Yeah,
okay. Thank you.
Thanks. We are done with the working group documents for this session. Let's start with the first individual document.
Everybody, I'm still Little for presenting this draft on behalf of co-authors and contributors. These next steps for the previous draft is about the POI for service assurance. So what is the scope? The scope here is to analyze what are the implications when you have a multi-domain, multi-layer network in terms of service assurance, meaning what happens for fault management when there is a failure in the multi-layer network, understanding where is the failure and what are the implications at the different layers, because if a fiber breaks, you can have failures on the layer 2, layer 3 VPNs on top of it. Performance management for monitoring the performances and get some early warnings that when the performances are deteriorating of the fiber, maybe the fiber is up to breaking soon. And also as being able to recover against the failures is an important characteristics for SLA. The draft, the current working group draft is only describing a case where all the resilience is done, mechanisms are done by local repair in the IP layer, but in a multi-layer, multi-domain architecture like ACTN, you may have also some enhancements where you can take care of the advantage of controlling both the IP and the optical layer. So what we do in this draft, we start from the use case and the scenario of the previous draft, and we start to analyze how this architecture can help in multi-layer fault performance. So what are the failures in the multi-layer network that has to be analyzed? The multi-layer performance management, understanding the degradation of the fiber and the implication on the services, and also some more enhanced multi-layer recovery scenarios are described. Next one. Okay. The reference architecture, as I said, is exactly the same as before. So I will skip this slide. And okay, yeah. What we have done so far, we have done some text in the previous version for the fault and resiliency scenarios, and in the next in this update we have cleaned up a little bit the introduction, developed some text for the performance monitoring, and started to work on the YAM model. In the YAM model so far, we have started to list what are the YAM model which are relevant from TEAS, but also from other working groups in the context of failure performance management. And we would like to get input if you are missing any draft, you would like to be analyzed. That's important. And then, okay, we need to clean up a little bit the document for the terminology and to do the analysis of the gaps, seeing what can be done with the existing model, what is missing in the existing model, and write the conclusion. Okay. Okay, what do we need to address? Okay, we have done a lot of work, as I said, but we would like to get feedbacks from the working group. So, well, we got feedbacks from the operators, but we like to get feedbacks from anybody who can read the draft. If we are missing any important scenarios, we would like to include it. We also have a doubt whether performance monitoring can be used only for detecting, having an early warning, an early detection of a possible failure in the future, or can be used also to, for example, trigger protection switching or some other actions in the context of maintenance. And what we need to do, as I said, is to look at the YAM models, identify if we miss some YAM model, and go into the details of the analysis and see what is missing. But we think that at this moment in time, the document has now reached enough maturity to be adopted by the working group. I think the scope and the type of service scenarios that we want to address are quite clear now, are well described, and so it's quite easy to understand what we want to achieve. And so we think it's time to get adoption and to move the responsibility to the document, to the working group. We are still having bi-weekly meeting and a GitHub list. These bi-weekly meeting calls are announced on the list, and open to everybody to join, and the GitHub is also open to everybody to comment and feedback. So I think that's all. Yeah. That's all. Thank you.
Any questions for Italo? So this has been presented a few times. We would like to do a couple of polls. The first poll question would be, is there any interest in this topic? And then we will ask if this is a good starting point for tackling that topic. The first question should be coming up. Let's hope.
Should have come up.
Should I go and vote?
If not, we can count your vote as one.
Yes.
Okay, so far nobody has said no.
About 13 out half of the room. We're not a big room today.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Let's ask the second question.
So we are a little bit few less yes than people who said yes or still.
Yeah, still no no's. Yeah, this is good feedback. I think we will take it to the list.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Still more or less the same percentage.
Next is Tony. We have 45 minutes left for 2 presentations, so take all the time you want.
I'm not going to take that much. Okay. I'm here to talk about RSVP authentication version 2. Next slide, please. Excellent. For those of you who have been around for a while, long ago we did RSVP authentication v1, and it's completely predicated on HMAC MD5. For those of you who are paying somewhat of attention to security world, MD5 is showing some cracks. It's not completely broken yet, but it's only a matter of time. We would like to fix this before it breaks completely and we have attacks on RSVP. So it's time to do something. The first step here is to generalize the document, take out the discussion about MD5 and try to make the protocol a little bit more general. We definitely want to maintain backwards compatibility, not trying to break anybody's existing implementation, trying to make it as easy as possible to move to new ciphers. And we're trying to reduce operational risks at the same time as much as possible. I think I've already said this. Trying to maintain multi-vendor interoperability. Yes, there are some people who have gone off and done some non-standard things already. Yes, we know about this. You guys didn't write a spec for the rest of us to follow, so we're going to write a spec, and yes, we're probably going to step on your implementation. Sorry. So we're going to try to retain the RSVP integrity object as much as possible. We don't want to break your packet parsing. Trying to keep existing operational deployments. So basically, if you've got something deployed in the field, maybe we can just add a new option to specify new keys and new transforms, and that should be it. We've modularized the spec, tried to rewrite it so we're not talking about the crypto algorithm. That will all go into separate documents. By the way, yes, we are working on another document. We would welcome help on that if you are into crypto. We want to do SHA-256, SHA-512, and SHA-3, KMAC SHA-3. But this, most importantly, this makes the document generic and allows us to change crypto without changing this spec. Right now, the authentication integrity object has 16 octets for data. And this is not sufficiently generic. Different transforms can produce different results, could be different lengths, could be shorter, could be longer. What we're worried about here, obviously you might make it much longer. We're going to guess that if you make it shorter, you're just going to pad. That's probably not a big deal. But if you're going to make it longer, then the object itself has to increase. And that seems like it might break things a little bit. What we are proposing, and this is, I realize, going to be controversial, We're planning on stealing the reserved field. The existing reserve field is 1 octet. What we would like to do is to have it indicate the number of 4 octet words that are added on in addition to the existing 16 octets. Okay, so if you need to generate 20 octets of authentication data, then the reserve field would get a 1. We've made the discussion of security associations now RSVP specific. They were trying to be generic before, but that's not really possible. We are now asking that the integrity handshake must be implemented. The point of doing this is that we want to allow people to get sequence numbers done properly. This is to help prevent replay attacks. If you don't have the integrity handshake, that's not the end of the world. If you are feeling very secure in your particular implementation, where you're not going to have sessions down for a long time, then this is less of an issue. But we would prefer that every implementation have the handshake available, just so you can sync up and come up with decent sequence numbers. We've obviously generalized key management, tried to bring it up to date and talk about netconf. We had a discussion about Kerberos. You have to be really old to remember Kerberos. But since almost no one is using that anymore, we've kind of backed that down. So please review and comment. If you're interested in helping with the crypto, please let us know. And we would very much like to request working group adoption. Adrian.
Adrian Farrell. Hey, Tony, thank you. This has been needed for a long time, and we've all been kind of hiding from it. And thank you for dragging Rand back out from whatever cupboard you found him in. It's,
Other way around, actually, he
Oh, really?
dragged me out on this.
Oh, cool. I just a couple of things. I think you mean to obsolete 2747.
Yes, and did I mention
You put in the 3097, I think, which was just a little tweak to 27.
Apologies.
Yeah, that was fine. What we should probably do is send a note to TSVWG, who are the people who nominally have a lookout for base RSVP. And not that there's a lot of that out there anymore, but we should just keep them in the loop. And maybe more importantly, we should reach out to SAG to say, look, we're doing this stuff and we're not cryptologists, and could you look at the key exchange that we're talking about, and even, are we actually giving enough space for future crypto? Are we doing it right?
To be very, very precise, we are not doing key exchange. Okay, we're doing sequence number exchange only.
Well, you talked about netconf.
That's key management.
Key management, yeah. So, you know, they may have opinions on, no, if you're doing key management, you've got to do this.
Okay, this is the way key management is done all over the place already, but okay.
Yeah.
Sure, we can ask.
Yeah, that's fine. And lastly, yes, 6151 is the RFC that says MD5 considered a not too clever idea anymore. And that may be a useful cornerstone reference.
We'd be happy to add the reference.
Thank you.
If you could email all that to me, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Okay, I have a comment on slide 5. Yeah, I think slide, maybe it was 6, 5.
5, you said?
Yeah, this one. think the second bullet seems to suggest that the original, the keyed message data field was rigid. But I think RSC 2747, the authors were kind of implicit. They did allow variable size. It's just that they did not have a length field. I think the assumption was that you would look at because that's the only variable field, you look at the object size and figure out what the key message digest length would be. I agree that having an more explicit length field is useful. But yeah, that's.
I agree that may have been their intent. They weren't explicit about it. And so just, let's see, we're in Ireland. So in the case of belt and braces, we wanted to have an explicit length field. So we're stealing the reserve field.
Okay. And when I read the document, I initially thought we would need a new C type, but the backwards compatibility section does adequately cover the scenario, and I don't think we can use the existing object. Any other questions for Tony? Okay, so as Adrian suggested, as the document progresses, we will keep the relevant working groups in the loop and see where it takes us. We will do a quick poll to see if there is interest in this work. RSVP cryptographic authentication 2. Yes, no. See, somebody said yes and took that back.
And there is also a note that we should not work in this topic. So I think it will be good if we can also.
So yeah, I guess what Oscar is saying is if you are saying no, it would be useful for us to understand why.
Yes. Why this should not work in this topic. Yeah.
Okay. I think, yeah, we have some responses. Would anybody want to comment on
Or
it?
Safar, you had a comment?
But good to see RSVP protocol specs being brought back. Thanks.
For release in Cisco systems. I think the one thing while we're discussing this topic, and I don't have any specific opinion in that context, but the problem that RSCPT has, it doesn't rely on, it doesn't native flow control. And during intra with vendor, there have been many problems. So while we're touching the authentication, maybe if you want to also talk about if we want to do reliance on a transport.
I would encourage you to look at RFC 2961 and RFC 8370. 2961 does talk about flow control. 8370 talks about per peer flow control as well. So there are procedures out there. Implementations may not have caught up yet.
No implementation has, but it's the issue continues. Implementation have. But anyway, that's I think is a different topic, but it's kind of related. So I thought that I just mentioned as well, because sometimes if you want to make a bigger change, and then you can take authentication from the transport too. Okay, thank you.
Tony? Okay. Okay. Let's move to the next the last presentation. That would be a hackathon update from Henry. You have half an hour.
It's more than enough. Oh, hello everyone. Yes, the same presentation. So some of you already watched it. So this is just a replay. Hi everyone, I'm Henry from Huawei. here to update on the hackathon on the T topology graphical display. Next, oh, actually I can. Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right. Oh, sorry.
Close to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need to. One second. I need to terminate it.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm already on the second page now. Actually.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So the motive of this hackathon is really to study the applicability of T topology on applications such as digital map or CMap now it's called. And we developed some programming tools to make use of a T topology and then to show some key aspects of a T topology that's related to CMap. So that's the motivation background of this hackathon. This diagram is basically trying to illustrate how the software is constructed for the hackathon, but it's less relevant to this session discussion than the hackathon itself. So I would just skip. Basically, this tool is just to do some graphical presentation of the T topology. That's the purpose of the tool. So now let's get into some more relevant material for this session. One aspect we like to demonstrate through the hackathon is the concept of a profile of a model. So basically, profile is the idea of producing some subset of the existing model. For example, T topology is our existing model. And in this hackathon, we simply created a simple T topology model by selecting relevant attributes needed for our CMap discussion. Therefore, we call it a ad hoc profile. So as we can see on this screen, the left-hand side of the screen is basically a snapshot of the TE profile of the TE model, which is just a subset of some key attributes selected from the TE topology. And we inject this TE topology into the tool, and such that the tool can make a graphical display of this text version of the TE topology. So the second demo is to basically graphically display the T topology that presented in the previous slide in the JSON format. So in this graphical display, we like to highlight two key aspects. One is that the links, as we can see on the diagram here, some links have 2 arrows and some links just have 1 arrow. The 1 arrow link represents the unidirectional link, while the double arrows link represent the bidirectional links. And that's one aspect. The second aspect is, as we can see on the diagram, it's 2 separate topology. That is also another aspect of T topology, which is a layered topology. So in this example, we show a upper layer is OTN topology, where the underlay is WDM topology. And both topologies can be modeled by the T topology model. And can be displayed by the tool by parsing the JSON file of the T topology. And the third demo is try to demonstrate another very important aspects related to CMap, which is the link hierarchy. So in other words, the link in the upper layer topology, which is the OTN topology, can be related to a underlay path composing of ordered links in the underlay topology. And that it can also be presented in the GUI by reading the T topology attributes, which maybe it's too small, but it's listed at the left-hand corner of this screen. We in the T topology we can define one primary path in the underlay topology to protect the link on the overlay topology, and multiple backup path or secondary path protecting the same overlay link. So this is another very important aspect we like to introduce to the community who are interested in T topology. Well, this demo is basically saying that if we standardize the profile of a T topology, it is possible that we can develop tools such as Swagger to automatically derive the interfaces from the profile. But this is up to study. Here we are not construct that idea yet, but we constructed a sample of the Swagger to show that APIs can be programmed in the friendly interface like Swagger to help people who are not familiar with RESTconf interfaces of a TE model or any other model to make use of RESTconf interfaces. So this is the idea why we developed the Swagger tool. And the final page, I didn't make use of half an hour, but I tried my best. The conclusion is that yeah, we use the programming tool to show to draw some conclusions. One is that the bidirectional link can be displayed, right, by parsing two unidirectional links that have the same source and destination pair, but it just swapped the order. So bidirectional link can be displayed like or constructed like that. I mean, for a tool, it's very easy to show that. And also we showed some how to navigate between the multiple layers of topology. And also the underlay path, we also showed that the primary path versus secondary paths to protect the overlay link. And also we implemented, we illustrated the idea of how the profile of a Yang model. And it seems that it's quite a practical way of reduce the complexity of the model. Okay. And for the future work, I think Idolo is already trying to make actions on that. Basically trying to push the idea one step further to see how we can standardize the idea for making profile of the T topology. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll stop here. Any questions?
So do you have let's say now concrete plans for the next hackathon? Because I saw that you have like some way forward, or you're still deciding where to go for the next hackathon? Because I guess you have some, you pointed at some directions of the work.
Right. For next hackathon, there are some suggestions that we probably use same use cases as the digital map hackathon, so that we can have a more apple-to-apple comparison. Yeah, so we can talk that. Yeah.
And also, in addition to the comparison with the digital map, I guess it would be helpful for all the T topology models that we have in the group, because I think we have the layer 3, the SFAware. I think it can be also used to generate examples and mockups for those. Okay? So I think I would also encourage to talk with the authors of the other documents also to see if we can maybe also produce examples, and maybe like the work that has been done for the transport MBI design team, that you have like a collection of some JSON samples from here. I see that it would be easy also to generate samples and to generate more awareness of how to use the models. I think it's very good,
Right.
the approach.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you for the work. So that brings us to the end of the session. Thanks everyone for a very fruitful session. Hopefully it will not be a Friday next time, and we'll have a house full.
Well,
See you all in Bangkok.
maybe there we go for Saturday, I don't know. Or next time Monday, they put us in Monday morning, so I don't know if the first time in Monday morning is also. Do we need to close anything, or it's just because as we are closing earlier, I don't know if we need to do anything special. Because otherwise it will keep.